Hi, my name is Banner, and this is the Adventures to the Edge podcast. Today we're going to be learning about how much, Brandon.
I want to give a little context to that intro. So that is Banner, one of my athletes over at the gym, and he's one of my younger athletes, and he did a great job with the intro, and he is just a ball of energy, and he's a little bit younger, and I just want to give him a shout out if he's listening to this. He's been doing a really, really good job of focusing and being part of the group, even though he is younger, and I'm really proud of him beating his time this past week on the laser. He did a great job with that intro, and the reason for the whole how much thing is because when he first started off, whenever we were doing weightlifting, he would ask me, how much, Brandon? How much, Brandon? And that was actually the initial time that sparked the idea that every single episode I should have an athlete do the intro. So that's Banner. He can take credit for kind of giving me the idea as far as doing athletes for the intro. I'm really proud of him. He's doing a really good job. Now to the episode. I'm wearing a different outfit. Have you ever thought about that too?
Dude, here's the thing. This is another thing we need to talk about.
Okay, cool.
I need to purchase more things for this podcast. This is all I got. This is me in like 5 podcasts right now. And honestly, 1, I'm half thinking about it. And 2, I have nothing else. It's soft. I like it. And that's what I want to wear.
I'm not wearing any Edge stuff right now, and I was thinking about it as I was going through and posting stuff and cross-platforming posts. I was like, am I wearing the same stuff in a lot of this? It's like
I'm always wearing this. This is number 5, I think. All right, start the counter.
Have an allotted allowance for apparel to wear during the podcast. We'll just have to I get you more shirts and stuff. That's what we'll do. And hats.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's the first time wearing the white hat
shirts.
this
time. I keep wearing hoodies. It's because I'm cold all the time. So
it's kind of warm today.
Wear
though.
a shirt. Yeah, but I'm cold. Don't know.
It's a weird thing to think about. Yeah, and Kyla's probably going to jump in on this podcast. He's sitting outside right now. I guarantee you, halfway through, you're going to hear because there's going to be a dog walking by, and I'll have to bring him inside. But I let him sit outside because he wanted to be outside. Okay, Cole. Oh, there he is. Look at. He came inside. He heard me say his name. What's up, buddy? He's got Gimli. Gimli is his gnome-looking stuffed animal, so he's going to prop up on his position. If you won $1 billion, like the Mega Millions that came out, $1.35 billion that a person in Maine won, what would you do with it?
Dude, I daydream about this question. Every time I have a rule. All right. Now, I'm going to back up. A little dark start, but my dad was in GA and stuff, so I have to be careful with my gambling because I am the same mindset. I'm the same way. But anyways, my rule is when the lottery hits $1 billion, I will play.
You will play.
I will play it, and I daydream until I lose about what I will do with this money. So this is the perfect question. I love this question.
I saw someone, they posted about gambling, and then when I want to say anything about gambling, but 99% of people lose because they quit. That's the mindset.
That's it. That's the mindset, you know?
Well, I think also the question is, when it comes to winning a lottery, should you take the lump sum or the payout?
Oh, lump sum.
It's always the lump sum because of appreciation,
every day
right?
of the week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're going to make more money in the end, especially if you invest it. But also, maybe this is stupid, but I feel like you don't know what's going to happen in 30 years with the government and whatever. Like you don't know what's going to happen. I'd rather just have all the money at once.
Yeah. You take the lump sum. The payout on this one was, sorry, 1 second, and then
All right, go.
The payout on this one, if you take the lump sum,
yeah,
after taxes was apparently $700 million just initially, which is crazy. And this is not financial advice, but again, the reason you take the lump sum.
No, it is not.
It is not.
Do not listen to us.
The lump sum is because just inflation and appreciation of money. If you take that money now and invest it in appropriate areas, instead of taking it over extended period, it'll be worth more. So you take the lump sum. So what would you do with the money?
The first initial thing, and also the other thing is, I hope I wouldn't change from the money. Like I'd obviously change in certain ways, but like I hope I wouldn't change because I know a lot of people that do, and I just feel like I wouldn't, but you never know, right?
Right.
But on the lighter side, I've always thought about just like giving money to my friends and family, just
Right.
like people close to me, and not just my life changing, but like everyone around me, being able to help them. But I've also thought about what is an appropriate amount of money to give those people. If I have 700 million, I can't cut them $1,000 check. That just kind of feels, as much as it's nice, they'd be like, what is this kind of money?
So on the way to the gym this morning, I was thinking about how I was going to approach this question. And as I was mulling through it, I was thinking about the same exact thing you said. Well, how much money is an appropriate amount of money per person? Because you want to give money away, right? To your friends and family members. And then I was going with like the list of people. You have other extended family, you hear the whole thing. They win the lottery. They come out of the woodwork. I was like, well, you give the money to the people that show up to Christmas. That's what you do. And then that's the family kind of thing. Who shows up to Christmas? You won because you have been a part of Christmas.
That's a really good thought. I like that. I like that one.
That's the person. I would, same thing. Who do you give the money to? How do you go about it? And that can be, you could go down a whole rabbit hole of what's the appropriate amount, or how do you financially go about it, or in that sense. And we don't necessarily delve into, obviously you should have a financial advisor. You should plan this out. You don't want to get into a situation where you have family members begging for money, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But apart from all of that, one of the things that, apart from all of that, because that's obviously there's a bunch of issues that arise. The fun part for me, I'll talk about experiences first, because obviously I want to buy some stuff too. But experiences, I would love to take this group of people and being like, okay, after I've given them some money, whatever, even if I do give them money, I would be like, okay, this whole week, I'm paying for a vacation. Let's go do experiences. We're going to go to Europe. This other group, we're going to go to Hawaii. This group, we're going to go here, and just having experiences and paid vacations that you take care of. And you're basically just like, not that you're paying them to be your friends. They're already your friends. You're just like paying for that experience. That's one thing that I would think would be really fun and I enjoy doing.
Sort of feels like you're holding them for ransom,
You have to go on this vacation with me. If not, exactly. Who would say no? If they can get enough work, maybe they don't have to work. I'll give them enough money. Now you're bribing people.
I think the first thing I would do is make sure my parents can stop working.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just get them done with work. For me, I'm so young, and like I haven't really done a lot of actual professional work yet, that I don't know what I would want to do. You know what I mean? Because then I could do anything. I don't know if I'd want to work, if I wouldn't want to work. I don't know. That's the other question I ask myself sometimes, is would I want to still do, like, be a teacher or whatever, even though I'm 100 millionaire.
It's at a certain point. Yeah, at a certain point, being so young, after 5 years, what else do you have to do travel wise? What experiences do you have? There's plenty out there, but you still have to have a sense of purpose, and being, like you said, like a job or something you're doing more on a daily basis, or it could be more nonprofit stuff, whatever it is. After you've kind of run the typical, buy this, do this experience, retire your parents, buy cars, whatever it is, what's behind that in the sense? It's like, okay, what do I do?
And that's the one that I haven't figured out what I would do yet. And I'd have to figure that out, because otherwise I would go insane.
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I mean, you could just find something that you really enjoy and try to make it into a business that you can dump a ton of money into. And if it fails, you don't feel so bad that it failed. Like podcasting, we could just get a whole massive studio, and that's what we do for fun. Like, I mean, that could be something, and
that'd be cool.
And maybe it's more. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. What do you do that's structured and still relatively normal that you enjoy, but then also can give back, not just money, but whatever.
Yeah. So you said, was it Maine? Is that who won?
Yeah, it was a person in Maine won. So
is it their first time in Maine?
I think so. I think that's what exactly it said. Yeah.
I wonder how many lobster you could buy with that.
A lot of lobsters. A lot
just
of
all
crab
of them.
cakes. Yeah,
and these all of them.
If it came out in Kentucky, how upset would you be if you didn't buy a ticket? Whole thing.
Oh my gosh, I didn't buy a ticket this time, and then when someone won, I was like, could have been me.
Could have been you. You could have
But
changed
that's
the whole...
not true at all.
Yeah. I don't know how it exactly works if buying a ticket in one state changes how it goes to another state.
See, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. No, but you're still playing $1 billion. Cole is in
Every time. Well, except for this time, I guess. But
yeah,
every time it hits $1 billion, I'm like, gotta stop. I mean, it's $2 investment.
yeah.
But that's what gets you. That's what gets you
Just
sucked
$2.
in.
It's really actually kind of cheap if you think about it.
I know.
It's the exception to the rule this time. What was the other thing I was thinking about as far as like what I would do? Obviously, like, you know, buying cars and fun toys and stuff like that. Donation wise, this is one that's like on the top of my head that I would do. Any dog shelter that is relatively close that I can help out, I'm going. Like, here's the money, take care of it, take care of the dogs, like whatever it is. That would be a big thing for me.
Yeah.
That could be even a trajectory I would go into work wise, is just opening up a farm and hiring people to just rescue dogs. Like that would be
that would be so sick. Yeah.
that would be something I would be all about that. And there's like a very much appropriate. It doesn't matter how much it costs, but it's done well and helping take care of dogs rescues. That would be one thing for me. There's tons of avenues you can go in to help people and dogs too. It's just, that would be one that'd be kind of close to my heart. Just taking care of dogs.
Yeah, I don't know what like problem I would solve. I would want to do one, but there would be so many. If that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Like investing your money into a certain avenue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So many of them.
It's a tough one. Here's the thing. I'll never have to worry about that. It's nice to daydream.
Cole, what if it happens? If it happens,
you know what? Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and watch this and remember what I said. How about that?
If it happens, we threw it into the universe today, and that's the reason that it happened, right? Sometimes you got to throw it out there as far as that happening. All right. Anything else you want to talk about as far as what you'd spend or do with a ton of money?
No, I'd probably buy a bunch of instruments. Try and learn them all. That's my purpose.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. I would allot time to learning, not necessarily new skills, but new stuff, because you're gonna have so much more free time. I would love to learn an instrument, or spending time this sport, that sport, and whatever it is. I would spend a lot more time learning and having new experiences on a weekly basis in that sense. Like, okay, this is the day that I do a lesson with this instrument. This is the day that I play this sport or learn this skill. Once you're not traveling all the time. All the time.
That makes sense.
I think that'd be really fun. Okay. Last week, we talked about this whole dart video. Yeah. And I saw it again, and I'm like, you know what? This has so much good energy. It's so much fun. I'm going to play it. I don't know if you've seen the full video.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've seen, like I said, I saw it on television one time, Dart World Championship, and it was absolutely insane.
And the other reason I wanted to play it is because you'll hear it in a second. The commentators, if you're just listening, I apologize. Actually, I don't even apologize, because the commentators are so good that you're going to enjoy this almost just as much as people listening are watching. But essentially, these guys I think it's the world championship of a dart competition, and they are just not missing. And on the screen, it'll say Michael Smith, 9-darter. I'm assuming he hits 9 darts in a row exactly where he needs them to go. And that ends up, I think he wins the world. So I'm going to play this clip because it's so much fun.
Or that means, he probably beat the game in 9 darts, which is probably insane.
To find a breaker throw in this set if he wants to level up the World Championship final. Michael Van Gerwen isn't in any mood to give him a sniff.
Yeah, the combination finishing in this game is going to be key. You can tell by the way they're scoring, there may be nothing in it. They may both be on 9s. Michael may miss and Michael may hit. They're both on 9s. They're both on a 9. This is insane. Come on now.
Wow, the World Championship final. Michael Van Gerwen is on a 9-darter in the World final and just misses double 12. Over to you, Michael Smith.
One man misses, does the other man get? I've never seen the like. Come on, Spolly boy!
Double 12.
Yes,
wow. 12. Oh my God, dude.
So hyped too.
Come on, man.
They're both on 9. The commentating on this is fantastic. Okay, that's the clip I wanted to show you because that was the beginning of the match. I think the guy that won that ended up winning the world championship as well. So,
wow, dude.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of that video, like the whole thing, it said there were 900 like triple 20s, like 180s, like perfect rounds. That's insane. Oh my gosh. Darts are crazy.
It is.
You know what? I want to get into darts. I'm going to start watching darts. Okay.
Darts. Darts would be fun. I think pool can be kind of, I don't know if pool would be, we talked about darts and pool and cornhole last time, but pool, we're so much fun. We love darts and pool. How old are we?
Yeah, I feel like pool, the audience is as hype though. Like that was insane. The crowd.
Yeah. And I just had to show that too because I would want to be there. Like we should go to. We're going to. That's what we'll do with our billions of dollars or tons of money. Is we're gonna every year we go to the World Championship of darts. That's another experience.
It's probably in like England though.
I don't know where it would be. Those those guys.
You know what? We can meet some Love Island people.
Love Island. We won't even go down that road. We'll go meet some Love Island people.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay, so you might be on this episode just because of this component as we're 30 minutes into this movie, but
well, welcome to the episode, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about some very fascinating things. Now that you've gotten through the garbage part.
That's I don't know, that was a pretty good beginning. I like that beginning, yeah. Okay, again, so you might be here because of this, and I've been working on this or putting out videos, or this project is essentially or you may have no clue what I'm talking about right now. On TikTok, especially, a little bit of Instagram, I've been putting up some YouTube shorts of just why and what or what not an athlete should do for a particular sport. So, for example, why on average the quickest and fastest athletes tend to be soccer players, or why field hockey players should do this, or volleyball players should do that, and been putting them out. But now here is not the end of it because I still have more to post, but here is a breakdown of one of the more popular ones that I put out in more detail. So the first one I want to jump into is why on average the quickest and fastest athletes tend to be soccer players. And I'm going to flip this back on Cole, actually, just being the mindset of maybe the non-sports performance coach.
The commoner.
You said it. I didn't say it.
I did.
Why do you think that I think, or I believe, that soccer players tend to be the fastest?
I think you're biased. I think
because I played soccer.
You have strong opinions that aren't swayed and have no reason behind them. How about that answer?
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. I don't know. For if I'm answering honestly, I feel like soccer players just seem to always be running. They're always running, and maybe the other half of the equation is they don't always have the best mechanics. So I'm not entirely sure why they would be quicker and faster, but it feels like they're always running, and they always have these moments in a game or practice or whatever where they have to just take off. Like at a second's notice, the ball flips and goes across the field, you know?
It's perfect. You just set everything up in a layup. No, it wasn't exactly, but you set everything up in a layup of what and typically would be said. So yeah, they actually tend to not have the best mechanics. And the reason that soccer players tend to not have the best mechanics is because it's the only sport that relatively the ball is consistently at your feet. So because of that, you kind of have to, when you're shielding the ball, you kind of put your arms out and you're able to do different concepts that other sports don't typically do because they might have a stick in their hand or the ball in their hand.
Okay.
So because of that, when they go to move out of that position or they're moving, they kind of get crazier arms or because they're having to do stuff with their feet. So that's one thing. Perfect. Okay. They don't have the best mechanics, but they're still fast. And like you said, they're always constantly running, but I think it's not that it's a myth. I think it's a misconception. Not that they're not always running, but the running is broken down into different categories. So if you look at the overall distance ran by, let's say, a professional athlete playing 90 minutes, an entire game on a big field, yeah, they might run 5 to 10 miles in a game, but that running is broken down into jog, sprint, and walk. So in a general sense, just to kind of answer the question, the reason that soccer players tend to be the fastest is just because the consistent demand put on them over an extended period of time, which essentially means they sprint hard more often from when they start playing soccer to later on, that it leads to them being faster overall because they're demanded to sprint the fastest more often. And there is a caveat to that. I say quickest and fastest because on some of the videos they're like, well, I think a track athlete. Yes, a track athlete in a straight line. When I say quickest and fastest, I don't mean just in a straight line. I just mean like quick, like that in a sense too. So that's kind of the answer.
So it sounds like I nailed it.
You did.
Really
we did.
Upgraded my status from commoner to sports performance expert.
Enthusiast. Expert.
Okay. Well, actually, one of my favorite videos, mainly because I'm a baseball player, was the softball versus baseball, or not softball versus baseball. It was softball and baseball players should stop being required to run polls, and I'm all on board for that.
Yeah, so that one popped off pretty good. On Instagram, especially, there's, I don't know, it's like 7,000 views. Not too bad.
Yeah.
The reason for softball players and baseball players, and I want to answer these pretty quickly, but then maybe details later on if you have questions, is because running polls tends to be kind of a monotonous way of just having the athletes just run because of tradition. And the tradition is kind of loosely based in part because the pitcher or whatever needs to get lactic acid out. It's a myth. And it's the tradition that you might be slowing your athletes down because softball and baseball players, they're not long distance sports. They don't need to have a high aerobic capacity. They're power athletes. They need to be able to sprint hard, throw a ball fast and accurately, and hit a ball. If you're just running at slower distances over an extended period of time, the more efficient way of doing it is just to do sprints instead. And then you're going to actually work on speed development and actually injury prevention. Because when you're sprinting hard, it actually helps out with injury prevention because you have to slow down that sprint. And force absorption typically is a time in which an athlete gets injured. So stop running ditch the poles, do sprints hard with appropriate breaks.
Yeah, you should have told my coach that. Where were you like 8 years ago?
Yeah, well, someone actually there's 2 comments on that video that I do want to address. One of them was, you should tell my coach that, just like you just said. And I was like, well, that's the reason I'm putting out these videos. Hopefully more and more people will see them and the pages will grow and I'll be able to get more information out and talk to people and educate. That's kind of the whole purpose of a lot of what we do and entertain. You know, some part of this is an entertainment standpoint, the first 30 minutes. Some of that was educational. And now we're more educational in this episode for sure. But the other one that drove me nuts is, and this one is, and you'll be able to comment on this for sure. I want your opinion too. Was the reason that you run polls is for mental toughness. What do you think about that? Because that I have a strong opinion on it. What do you think about the whole mental toughness because of polls?
Polls never were presented as that to us, so that kind of sounds dumb to me. Usually when we ran polls, it was one for the pitcher thing, for the lactic acid buildup, whatever. Yeah. I'm glad to know that now. Or 2, it was punishment for being stupid. So
that's your mental you get punished. That's what makes you tough, because you're getting punished.
I guess that's fair, but to us, it just ended up being this stupid, like goof off session, you know?
Yep.
Until they yelled at us while we were goofing off, and then it was silence again. So
that also makes you tough when people yell at you. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm being facetious. I'm being sarcastic. So this is my opinion.
I've told the trophy story, right, on here?
No, I don't. Maybe.
No.
You have to refresh me real quick.
So one tournament, I was 10, by the way. We came in second place.
Is this a trauma moment, Cole?
Oh yeah. And my travel team coach decided to tell us what he thought about second place.
You've told this, yeah. Go ahead. Do it.
So he took our second place trophy and he took the bat and he said, "Do y'all want to know what I think about second place?" And us as 10-year-olds were like, "Yeah, sure." He just starts destroying the trophy, the second place trophy. And he said,
it's an appropriate response.
Yeah, exactly. Full grown adult. I liked him other than that moment. But he was kind of crazy. So
one moment to defy him all.
Pretty much. Yeah, so that was my coach for you. The one that yelled at us while we're doing polls.
Now you're tougher because of that. All right, I'm going to get into my rant on toughness.
Exactly.
I have to do this.
I want to hear it.
The toughness, there
There
he is. I told you. Let me go grab him real quick.
Yeah.
All right, this is my opinion on mental toughness when it comes to coaching in sports. A, you're not in the military. B, you're not. It's not about
No, you're not.
preparing you for war. B, there are the appropriate ways of going about it, and it's not based on tradition, it's based on science. The appropriate way to build mental toughness is not necessarily to physically making you do something as a punishment. Physically making someone do something as a punishment on a consistent basis, what it alludes to is the sense or the idea that physical activity should be used as punishment, and that is not great for someone's psyche as they get older. Exercise is not punishment. It is a way to improve yourself. That's the first thing. Drives me nuts. You should not use physical components like doing sloppy push-ups or running long distances to build mental toughness. There's better ways of doing it. That's the first thing. I'm coming hard on this. I'm sorry. I'm amped up. The second
the
thing.
left jab. Here's the right
Yeah.
hook.
In order to build mental toughness, it shouldn't come from a ton of external stimulus. It needs to come from internal inspiration. What I mean by that, if someone is externally taking a trophy and hitting it with a bat, that is externally trying to create an idea or a presence or a toughness or something
Elicit a
towards
response.
you.
Yeah.
It's not how you do it. To have athletes run poles as a punishment because they're not paying attention, that's not how you do it, because they're going to hate it. You need to internally build a process or a situation in which they know why they're doing something, why they shouldn't do something, how they're going to improve, and how it's going to get them to a goal that they're trying to accomplish. If you can build that scope or that space of coaching appropriately in that process so that they trust you, so that they believe that what you're trying to teach them is going to get them to the goal they're trying to accomplish, that's how you build mental toughness. That's how you build mental toughness. Another example of this is what happens when you have to run polls and coach yells at you. The athlete's like, oh, they like you less. You're trying to coach them as a team. The better way to get to a goal as a team is that the athletes not necessarily like you, but they respect you. So one of the things that I do, and I want to just say something is wrong and not give an example of what I think is appropriate. One of the things I do, let's say an athlete is not paying attention appropriately. They're not paying attention well. They're distracting the class. I will tell them, this is the expectation. You are not meeting the expectation. And because you're not meeting the expectation, you're not going to be involved in this class for 15 minutes. Go sit down and watch everyone else do what they're supposed to do. That's going to elicit a response of them sitting there and mentally thinking about what they've done, and create the goal, the situation where they're going to want to come back and do it appropriately. And another thing, and the last thing that I will say, if I ever, and I've done it a little bit, I don't do it a ton, and I don't want to be hypocritical here. If I ever use running as a punishment in the sense of they're not paying attention, I can't get this across, the team's not acting well, I can't get them to focus. I tell them one of the easiest ways, if you have a high energy group, to get them to focus quicker is you treat them not necessarily like a puppy, but like a puppy. You can get someone that is a young kid that has a lot of energy to focus better if they're a little bit tired. So we're going to run, but guess what? I'm going to run with you because I can't get you guys to focus. And then like, he's running with us. I'll do it. I've done it every single time, and I run with them. And then like, all right, he's doing this as well. And then when you tire them out a little bit, guess what? Now you've built mental toughness, you've built respect, you've worked as a team, and now you can go towards your goal. That's my rant on using punishment. You're not in the military. That's not how you do it. There's better and bigger ways of doing it.
Yeah. I always like when a coach gets involved in it. I just feel like it kind of creates this he's in it with us sort of attitude. And also, I mean, it sounds like in that type of scenario, when you're doing the running with them, they want to beat you too. Like there's a response of like, oh, I'm going to try and beat this adult that's training me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And there's also kind of a hidden reason as well. Again, I haven't done it a ton. Let's say, for example, in my conditioning class, it's not a punishment, but in conditioning class, it's meant to be hard. And it's meant to be getting athletes ready for their school season and their season coming up in the spring or the fall. This past summer, I did every single class besides one. And the hidden reason is because I can get a feel of the scale at which I'm pushing them as well. So I know, okay, am I being reasonable here? Should I expect this of them? Versus just like, no, go, go, go. I don't want to traumatize anyone or make anyone upset or letting them know in that sense. So yeah, that's how I feel about that whole situation. No, it doesn't build toughness. Don't run polls, do the sprints, be smarter. Don't have to work harder just for the sake of whatever tradition told you or the old school coach said you should do.
All right, we're fixing baseball and sports on here, I guess.
It's just my opinion. I don't know. Yeah. Take it or leave it. Next one.
I know.
I'm on fire.
We have two volleyball players in our lives, and so we're forced to watch. I mean, we want to watch.
Hey, it's the one sport I do enjoy watching. I mean, Cole's making jokes every year.
It's pretty hype, though. Anyways, volleyball. You talked about volleyball, and so I think one of them was why volleyball players might not sprint the fastest.
Yeah. Volleyball, there's a multitude of reasons of why volleyball players might not sprint the fastest. And I'm going to give it, okay. If you take soccer and you take track and you took volleyball and you had them sprint in a straight line, who's going to win? Track or soccer? Volleyball is not. This is probably not going to happen. This is on average as well. And I'm not saying, oh, all volleyball players are slow. There's a reason that they may not be as fast. And two of the reasons are, the first one is they just don't sprint as often. They just don't. And they don't sprint as often, so they don't have the same situation. But and this is another question I addressed, if volleyball's players sprint more often, they'll actually be quicker on the court. So, for example, if I took a pair of twins, okay, and this will kind of answer the whole question here. If I took a pair of twins that are just boy and girl, or girl and girl, and let's just say two girls. If I took two girls, twins, and they were 15 years old, one of them had played soccer their entire life, and one of them played volleyball their entire life. That's the only sport they ever played. And then all of a sudden, I was like, all right, you guys need to flip roles. So they're genetically relatively the same. You need to go play volleyball. They need to go play soccer. And they learn the skill set from the same person that taught them skill set for the other sport. Arguably, the soccer player is probably going to be able to take off and do better quicker because they're already faster. So once they learn the skill set, they're going to be better on the court. They're going to be able to perform better. So that's in the sense of why volleyball players should sprint. And then also back to the first question is why they may not be as fast because they don't sprint so often. And the other thing that's kind of hidden that I haven't said publicly before, besides in those videos that some people may not notice or ever see, you might have to go watch the video, help out, is, and I'll say this, it's going to kind of hard to explain on video, or on audio, but when volleyball players are in, let's say, serve receive position, so they're about to receive the ball, they're about to be served to, they're set up in that ready position where they're low, they're ready to get to the ground and move to the ball. And if you're on, I'll do this kind of hand demo if you're on the video here. Their foot and their shin, they have a higher degree of dorsiflexion. So their ability to bring their foot, let's say it's just my left hand, their foot closer to the shin, is probably typically going to be higher than the average sport because of the required demand of them having to quickly get to the ground and be in that ready position. And when you have a higher degree of dorsiflexion in the foot, what ends up happening is when they go to sprint, they tend to heel contact more versus being on the ball at the feet, which reduces your ability to sprint quicker.
Yeah, a lot of science there.
There's a lot of there's also a lot of size from Cole. He's like, he's still talking.
No. That was not. That's not it.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, but here's the thing. I tracked with you, but let's make sure that everybody else did. So basically, their foot can come closer to their shin, and so that will lead them to heel striking more because their foot is easy. It can go higher, easier, right?
That's you're so well put, and you're going out from you put it so much faster. Yeah, yes,
layman's terms, baby.
Because they have a higher degree of dorsiflexion, or the ability to bring
on the science terms now.
Hold on, to bring their foot to their shin. Yeah, they have an easier ability to actually heel strike. When you're heel striking, you're not going to sprint or move as fast in a lot of avenues. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Next sport. Woohoo! I had too much coffee today. I worked out this. I don't usually work out before the podcast. I worked out. I got up early, worked out, and then I had a little bit of caffeine.
You're
Next.
just on one now. All right,
Yeah.
next.
Go ahead.
I guess this one's not very sports related, but you answered why you can't only strength train in order to get faster, which I feel like this is kind of intuitive, right? Do people believe that if you only strength train, you could get faster?
I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think in a certain standpoints, some people, it's not that they think that, it's just that they'll stop. Well, use football, for example. They'll stop sprinting in off season and just lift weights. They'll get away too much from the sprinting. And football is kind of the easy example. Football, especially in Kentucky or in Louisville, or actually in Louisville, I don't know, in the rest of Kentucky, football athletes, if they just play football as one sport, they typically play for their middle school or their high school, and then they don't have anything in the off season as far as like club goes, like other sports have. Because of that, in high school especially, they might just stop sprinting altogether and just go lift the weights. And the better thing to do is maybe don't lift crazy heavy and kind of middle ground it with doing sprints and lifting weights. So that's where that kind of comes from. You can't just only strength train or and I'll use another example is if your sports professional, like some, it's not, I don't want to get on other sports performance facilities because it is true. If it is true, if you're going to a facility, I'm just going to use this example right here. I had a team that I trained for a long period of time, and one of the parents just, sorry if you're listening to this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. One of the parents they just decided, all right, we're going to go to this boot camp that I enjoy going to. So it's just like a boot camp where they just do these circuits and do stuff in place and lift weights, and it's just high energy. And I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I'm sure that the boot camp is a lot of fun, but they weren't ever sprinting they never sprinted. It's just like, that's not how you train an athlete. And if you don't sprint, or you're going somewhere and you're not sprinting, you're just strength training, you're kind of missing a big part of it.
Gotcha. Do you think it would be necessary for players of all positions to sprint?
In any sport?
Well, specifically for football right now. Like, do you think linemen need sprints? Because they theoretically don't need them as much as like a wide receiver. So what would be your opinion on that?
Yes. If you're playing a sport in which you're required to sprint, sprinting is not only going to help with overall speed, if you're sprinting at a hard and a high intensity, but actually, I kind of said at the beginning, it actually helps with injury prevention, because when you're sprinting harder, more consistently at an appropriate rate or appropriate amount per week with the proper breaks, you're going to have to slow that force down which you're applying to the ground. So you just can't get away from sprinting. If you're just heavy weightlifting and then you go back to sprinting, that's usually the number one time you're going to pull a hamstring or do something silly. So it's like you're supplementing being fast with doing the strength training, but you can't take out the speed. So yeah, I still think you should sprint fast. It doesn't matter what sport, you need to sprint. It makes you faster.
Okay. Got it. And then this is a random question, but what does pulling a hamstring actually mean? I don't know what actually happens to the hamstring.
Yeah, so I mean, depending on the degree of the tear. So if you think about your hamstrings, pulling your hamstrings means you strained a little bit, like a grade 1 strain, 2 or 3. But if you really pull it, it can snap and roll up in a section.
Okay, that's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and sometimes it might just be a little tear. Yeah,
got it. And then I guess on the similar lines of strength training, you talked about squatting with your shoes off. I did watch that one, and I was like, that sounds weird, right? Like, so what's that about?
I squatted this morning, is what I did this morning. And I thought about this in relation to this question for sure. Basically what I was saying in the video that I put out was you don't have to always squat with your shoes off. I go to Crunch. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of newer people maybe to lifting. There's different degrees of experience, whatever. I see a lot of people squatting with their shoes off. Perfectly fine. But I think there is this, not hierarchy, there's this degree in which people think, or it's thought that it's better to squat with your shoes off because it is more, not animalistic, it's more anatomically correct. It's better to do it because but the issue is and this is the thought I had this morning, the issue is if you sit in a chair all day or for extended periods of time, and then you show up to the gym and you expect to not do a good warm up or have any mobility work and go in and squat well with your shoes off, good luck, because what ends up happening is you're going to potentially be lacking the flexibility in certain joints or the stability or strength in certain areas. Part of it. If you're lacking dorsiflexion when you go down in the squat, instead of being in an appropriate position where you're not roasting your back all the time, then having your shoes off is a problem. There's other things to do, and this is a whole conversation that you could go into, but yeah, if you're lacking flexibility in certain areas, let's say at the ankle, like you said, or at the hip, or lacking strength in the core, or lacking in as far as your setup of the squat, when you're going down, if you're taking a video of it, you're biomechanically in a situation where you might be sacrificing the lower back. So one way to actually kind of help that out is to elevate the heels a little bit, work on your mobility and your flexibility, know what an appropriate squat looks like, and then over a period of time, that's the end goal, is to be able to squat with your shoes off and do it well. It's not the beginning. It's not the beginning stage. There's other things that you need to focus on and pay attention to and be aware of before you're like, all right, I'm taking my shoes off and I'm squatting. No, there's a beginning to it, more so, especially with the average person today, because of their consistent sitting and not going into a position of being in flexion consistently.
Yeah. So for squatting, as far as like the form and stuff, like is it just an injury thing to make sure that you have the right form? Like, why is it important for your athletes to have proper form for either lower body or upper body when you're squatting? Is it just an injury thing? Like,
no, it's such a good question. Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you. Cole's killing it. It is not necessarily in just all about injury. So I'll put it from this standpoint. When you're squatting, typically, and when I say squatting, I'm talking more so like a back squat. So you have a bar on your back that is loading your spine. One things that the biggest thing that you don't want to have an injury on is your back. You don't want to have your back sore all the time. You don't want this going on. So it's not necessarily about an acute injury. So an injury in the sense of, okay, you're squatting, all of a sudden, boom, you hurt your back. It's more about a chronic situation. If you're consistently squatting with improper form, let's say your feet are turning, your knees are rolling in, your glutes are tucking under, or your pelvis is tucking under, and you're sacrificing your lower back, or you're leaning too far forward over your toes, what ends up happening over a period of time is, okay, you might be fine for a little bit because your body is pretty resilient, but if you don't address those issues, then over a period of time, you start taking the weight up, something's going to start hurting. You're not going to feel so good in 10, 20 years. So it's addressing that initially. Yeah. It's injury, not just in that moment, but in an extended period of time of what you're going to be capable to do if you're not loading your spine with weight and then squatting inappropriately just because you think you need to take your shoes off to squat. You don't have to. There's other things that need to be addressed first.
Fair enough.
Let's do one more.
All right. You pick. I've been picking.
All right,
you pick.
All right, we'll do one more here. I've talked about that at length. Putting your hands on your knees instead of your head for recovery position. I'll go over that quickly. There's a study out in 2019 that the most efficient way to recover when doing movement or sprinting is to put your hands on your knees, not on your head. Go check that study out. Go check out that TikTok. That is correct. Whatever your coach told you in the past is wrong. And if they want to change their mind about it, good luck. Okay. This is my transition song.
Man, if we were in the same room, I was going to start adding a beat to that, but I know it would be off, you know?
Yeah.
That would be good.
All right. This is the last one I go over because I haven't talked about this sport yet. And this covers just a multitude of sports. Why you shouldn't do sports performance training or just training all the time with a ball or stick. What I mean by that is whether you play lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, whatever sport you choose, yes, there's a separation between skill acquisition, playing your sport and practicing, but then overall speed and development. If you're doing, let's say, I'm going to use lacrosse as an example. If you're playing lacrosse and you're trying to work on your overall speed, you're getting quicker, and you always use your stick, what ends up happening is you're never going to be able to, with your stick, you're never going to be able to sprint as hard as you can as if you didn't have your stick, is the easiest way to put it. So if you really want to get faster, if you really want to improve that, one of the number one things you can do is sprint at as hard as you possibly can over a consistent time. If you have your stick, you just can't. So if your overall goal is to get faster and you're never doing something without the ball or stick, then you're never going to hit your true max potential of speed. And it's so simple when I break it down that way. It makes so much sense. It's like, don't always do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That just feels, these things feel intuitive. And I feel like just no one has changed or thought about it, I guess.
To you, they seem intuitive as I break them down. But the reason I bring these up is because I've seen there's all the time. People are doing stuff with it. It's like, no, you shouldn't. You need to sprint. You need to do this. And it seems so intuitive. And the other one that drives me nuts that I said I'm going to do, I haven't done a video on it yet, but it's going to be coming out soon is, and I talked about it before, stop doing drills always trying to catch a tennis ball. It's just everywhere on social media right now. So stop doing it. And I'll explain why in that. There's tons of more stuff that I went over on the TikTok. It's on Instagram. I started putting it on YouTube Shorts as well. So if you want to check out more of that content and maybe in a shorter avenue, this is all we're going to talk on today. Go check out the TikTok. It's all linked in the description below. Go check out that stuff and just go check it out because we've got a bunch of new stuff coming out. And the new stuff I do want to talk at the end here, and we're going to be done, is one of them being that I talked with Cole at the beginning of this, is we're going to start doing some food eating stuff. Super Bowl is coming up, so we do have to do our queso off. We will talk about our queso off.
I have my recipe.
I have my
recipe. I need to tweak it, perfect it a little bit more, but I think I'm feeling pretty good about it.
So I think, to be fair, this is what we should do. Okay. Is I get my recipe together. You got to get your recipe together. Mm-hmm. What we should do is we need to do a practice.
Yep.
Okay.
Got to have a practice.
So we'll take
I agree with that.
We'll do a practice, and then we can, and then maybe we'll get some feedback from Aaron and Lauren. So when we hang out on Mondays, we'll have a queso off with neutral level chips. We got to decide what chips we want, and then when we do this whole Super Bowl thing, then we can, whatever your tweak is, that's what you throw in and go with. I will give you a piece of advice that I know coming from Lauren. She will be one of the viewers.
Advice. Here we go.
Not a piece of advice, just fair warning.
Just patronizing me.
I'm actually not.
I'm kidding.
Lauren enjoys more of a white queso in hindsight of like a yellow cheddar queso. Just so you know. I know that, so I can't have that information and not tell you. I think it's fair.
I just disagree with that completely, so I'm not going to follow that even a little bit. I need something with a little bite, It's gotta be like cheddar. It's gotta have Monterey Jack. It's gotta have something with a bite,
It's so funny. I would. My personal preference would. I do enjoy a white queso, but I agree with you. I'm more of a cheddar and a little bit of bite to it. But
I like a white queso when it's done really, really well. But most of them aren't. So sorry, I don't know.
We shall see. Queso off, and then we're gonna be eating. Burgers are coming up. We're going to be doing that within the next 2 weeks. And then Cole and I are also going to be eating. Well, I asked him, and I'm not going to give him any, he doesn't have any choice here. So just another mental toughness thing for him when it comes to eating burritos is we're going to eat 2 burritos in one sitting from his choice, Qdoba or Chipotle, and it's not going to be a race. I'm going to build your stomach.
I'm just going to suffer through eating delicious food. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. That's the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel. There's going to be some prizes coming out because Cole had a great idea. Click it. Easy enough.
Click the like.
So we're going to explode here with another project coming out. We talked about in the last episode. If you don't know what that's okay. Bye.
It looks like that. Bye.